Guten Tag alle, heute werden wir ein bisschen über die schwache Verben sprechen. We're going to talk a little bit about weak verbs in German. Verbs in German come in two basic categories. You can also divide them into a third category. Weak verbs or regular verbs, and then irregular verbs, and then weak verbs that act irregular would be the third category, but weak verbs are the most numerous verbs in the German language. Some estimates they range up around 95% of the verbs. They are characterized by having predictable conjugations that follow a pattern and no major changes to the verb itself, meaning no stem vowel changes or things going on. We will look at them in three of the major tenses by examining the changes that occur to the weak verb lernen. And here's just a few other weak verbs, and like I said, these are the most numerous category of verbs that there are. Thankfully so, as they are the ones who are most easily to be predicted in terms of their conjugations. Okay, let's look at the Präsens, or the present tense. In German, the present tense functions as three different English tenses. The present, what we call in English also the present progressive, and the present emphatic. For example, er geht can mean he goes, which is just simple present, or it can mean he is going. Er geht. This is a problem for English speakers a lot of times because we want to put ist in there. So I've often heard people who are learning German go, er ist gehen, because that makes sense to the English brain. But er geht means he is going also, and it also means he does go. And we don't use in English the present emphatic as much, so therefore it's a little bit more obscure. So let's go through the present tense endings, and like all weak verbs, present tense follows a pattern. Ich lerne, du lernst, er lernt, wir lernen, ihr lernt, sie lernen. And the pattern is est 10-10. So if you look at the endings, an E on the ich, first person singular, second person singular, st, est, and then T for the third person singular, T, en, en. So I just always tell my students est 10-10 for the present tense of weak verbs. Okay, so the Präteritum, or the simple past or imperfect, describes an event within a time frame that has been completed. With a few notable exceptions, this tense is mostly avoided in spoken German. In English, we use this tense much more. In spoken language in German, they prefer the present perfect, which we'll get to. So the endings here, again, follow a pattern, as is true of all weak verbs. Ich lernte, du lerntest, er lernte, wir lernten, ihr lerntet, sie lernten. And here the pattern is ta testa 10-10. So again, ta testa 10-10. And that is just the endings that go on to the root of the verb, and the root of the verb lernen is lern. Okay, so last tense we're going to look at here with weak verbs is perfect, or in English we call it the present perfect. It's also referred to occasionally as a conversational past. The present perfect tense is formed by using a past participle and a helping verb. It describes a past event with present tense implications, and this is widely used in spoken German. For example, ich habe Deutsch gelernt. While the majority of verbs in this category form their tense with a conjugation of the verb haben, some will form this tense with a conjugation of the verb sein. So your helping verb in this tense can be haben or sein, and for more information on that, you'll want to check out our video on that. Gelernt. Most weak verbs form the past participle, which is what gelernt is. It's a past participle, by adding a ge to the front of the root of the verb. The root of the verb for lernen is lern, and then a t to the end, so gelernt. And that's normally how they're used, but there is some variation here. And for more information on that, you need to check out our video on the perfect tense. Okay, so vielen Dank. Ich hoffe, dass das hilfreich war. Auf Wiedersehen.